Modelling is a strategy that teachers will do instinctively that allows your pupils to learn and understand skills or concepts quickly. It's something that can be adapted to support large classes, small groups, or even can be used with your pupils' parents to help them understand how they can support their children better. But what does good modelling look like? Hi everyone, I'm Alex from My Progression, and this video is all about modelling. No, I'm not talking about Kate Moss or Naomi Campbell. I'm going to be talking about what modelling means in your classroom, what good modelling looks like, why modelling works for your pupils, and how to make sure you're getting it right every time. But what is modelling? In your classroom setting, modelling is the process of teachers demonstrating how to perform a skill, how to think through a concept, or how to complete a task before the pupils have a go at it themselves. As teachers, this will be something that you do naturally and will likely be one of the very first things that you learn during your teacher training. Modelling could be as simple as showing your young pupils how to hold a pencil correctly, or something more complicated like the steps to complete a potentially challenging science experiment. Pupils thrive from having a model to watch when learning something new. It helps them to process the task or skill quicker. It reassures them that what you're asking them to do is something that's achievable and will minimise the uncertainty or the confusion around an outcome. Imagine you're trying to teach your class how to play guitar, but instead of picking up the guitar to show them, you try to explain the concept of chords, notes and strumming to them. Not only are the pupils going to become really confused, but they're also going to lose interest, which is only going to make it harder for you to engage them in the future. Clearly, this is quite an extreme example of teaching without modelling, but poor modelling can be just as detrimental for the young minds that you're teaching as no modelling at all. Modelling is part of being an educator, so it's something that you are doing every day in the classroom. This video will give you the opportunity to reflect on your practice and make sure you're doing the best version of this purposefully. So what is good modelling? The aim of modelling is to allow the teacher to demonstrate how to do something. The key to this is remembering that you are the expert. This means that you should go into any lesson or discussion where you're going to be modelling with a plan about how you're going to model the skill or tasks as clearly as possible. If you're teaching a subject or concept that you're less familiar with, write down the process that you're going to demonstrate beforehand to make sure you're doing it all correctly, or practice it with a colleague before your class arrives. Good modelling should always look achievable. So if you start to model a skill but get confused or lost halfway through, you're not going to paint a very good picture for your learners. Good modelling is also clear and concise. Sometimes as educators, we can get carried away with talking because it can feel like the easiest way to get your message across, but it can become overwhelming or confusing. When you're modelling, be prepared to demonstrate your example multiple times to make sure it's as clear and concise as possible. Your first demonstration may be quick and smooth without talking, demonstrating how achievable the skill is. Your second demonstration may be slower, where you explain step by step what you're doing to achieve the task. The third demonstration may be the same, but from a different angle, so all your pupils can understand. There's no limit to how many demonstrations you may need to model, but the important part is mixing up the way that you demonstrate the skill or task to ensure the maximum understanding from your pupils. An effective way of modelling is using the me, we, you approach. To break this down, the first model, me, should be done by you alone, talking through each point and modelling using your choice of equipment. The next is we, where you complete the model and where the pupils talk you through it and explain the process. Finally, the you stage requires the pupils to have a go on their own. This promotes active learning and allows you to identify any whole class misconceptions or specific pupils that might need more support when completing this task. From this, you can judge whether the pupils need another example or if they are ready to start their independent work. Modelling in a classroom links very closely with scaffolding, the process of putting support structures in place to enable your pupils to learn and grow independently. It's very unlikely that you would do one of these without the other. So if you haven't already, take a look at our scaffolding video linked in the description and to get a full understanding of how you can promote independent learning. Now, why does modelling work? Now, we know that modelling is something that we do as educators instinctively when we teach, but why does it work so well? To understand this, I'm going to take you back to your teacher training and explore the theory of observational learning by American educational psychologist Albert Bandura. Bandura's theory is based on the philosophy that individuals can learn through observing and imitating the behaviour of others. During his research of observing children, he found that children were copying the behaviours of those around them, learning more in a social environment. From this, Bandura created the theory of observational learning, which is based on 4 conditions to ensure that learning can occur. First, attention. The more attentive the learner is while the behaviour is being modelled, the more likely they are to understand the behaviour or skill they're observing. Any disturbances in attention to detail, such as pupil illnesses or sleepiness, may mean they struggle to imitate the behaviour or skill later on. Next, retention. The behavioural skill must be memorised to increase the chances of this being replicated. This means as a teacher that you repeat the skill to ensure full understanding and come back to it at a later stage to prevent your pupils forgetting over time. Next, reproduction. This is the process of your pupil trying to replicate the skill or behaviour in a real life situation. This could be something cognitive, such as a maths formula that you've remembered, or something physical, such as a skill or manoeuvre during a PE lesson. Depending on the complexity of the skill you're modelling, it may take them a while to reproduce this in practice. This is where your scaffolding will come into play. And finally, motivation. The more motivated your pupils are to learn, the more likely they are to learn through observing when they model skills or behaviour. Understanding your pupils' motivation for the subject can change depending on what they're learning, but take the time to engage and motivate your pupils before a lesson. This will increase their chances of learning the correct skills or behaviours. As a teacher, you can ensure your pupils are being attentive, you're providing opportunities for them to retain the information, you scaffold their learning to ensure that they can put their new skills into practice, and you can make them motivated to learn. Your pupils are going to learn so much more when you model during your lessons. If you're finding this video useful, then why not press subscribe to keep hearing more from my progression? I'll even model clicking on the bell for you right now. Now, clearly, modelling is a really helpful strategy to promote learning in your classroom. So here's some useful pointers to make sure that you're getting it right every time. First, consider what you need to model effectively. Every lesson will be different, so the way you model will also be different too. Do you need an interactive whiteboard to demonstrate your skill? Or maybe moving outside the classroom and going to the playground with chalk will work best. Maybe you're demonstrating a small, intricate skill, and the best way to demonstrate this would be to go to each table one at a time and show your class in smaller groups. There's no limit to the way you can model, but making sure you model it in a way that means that all of your pupils can interpret and understand the skill clearly is so important. If you are modelling something with multiple steps or something that's particularly complicated, then break it down into bite-sized chunks and model each individual component or stage before moving on. Second, remember to model making mistakes. As adults, we know that we all learn by making mistakes, but for our pupils' perspectives, they may be worried that they're doing something wrong or what the repercussions of that may be. So when you're modelling, don't be afraid to preempt the mistakes that your pupils are likely to make and demonstrate that too. By doing this, you'll help your pupils see and understand what went wrong and how to rectify it if it happens to them. For example, you may be modelling long multiplication and division. You start by showing your class the correct way to do this. Once they understand, you demonstrate it again, but you do the calculation in the wrong order, causing the answer to be incorrect. At this point, you can ask questions to your class like, "Why didn't that work?" or "What can I do to fix this?" By solving the issue in front of your class, you can demonstrate how easy it is to fix their mistakes, making the whole equation feel easy and achievable. Third, question your pupils' understanding while you're modelling. It's possible to model with the best intentions, but sometimes it takes your pupils a little longer to understand the concept. If you model the skill quickly and ask, "Does that make sense?" and you see a room full of blank faces in front of you, they probably don't understand. But you also don't know where to start. We've already mentioned that you would model the skill in different ways to ensure your pupils understand. So when you're slowly explaining the process, take the time to see if your pupils have any questions at key points of the demonstration. Another great way to see if they have understood the skill is ask them to instruct you how to demonstrate it back. Great, this time you're going to tell me what to do. Grace, what's the first thing I need to do? Fantastic. Thomas, what's the next thing I need to do? Involving your pupils in the modelling process will help you ensure that you get it right from the very beginning. Modelling is a journey that you take your pupils on every day. It's an opportunity for you to show your pupils how achievable a new skill or concept is while preparing them for their own independent learning. Your modelling should always be clear and concise while demonstrating that you are an expert. The key things to remember when modelling for your class is to make sure that the 4 considerations are possible: attention, retention, reproduction, and motivation. Once you've got these in place, take the time to ensure you're prepared to model your lesson, including common mistakes, and ask questions the whole time. I've been Alex from My Progression, and let's keep your career in motion.